Alrighty, welcome to another edition of Superkickin with Steven right here, your favorite host, Steven A1181, the Greg one over there, rocking his Chargers jersey. Is that a LaDainian Tomlinson jersey?
Yes, it is. Got to
And
break
they're
out the legends for the first game.
and they're playing right now.
Yep, we're currently beating the Raiders 17-10. Just gave the Raiders the ball in the second half, and they went down and promptly scored a touchdown. So
Okay.
that's not good, but they've been looking good so far. So
Good.
hopefully they keep it
usually
up.
I forgot this time is usually when they're playing, since they're, on the West Coast time. So.
Yeah,
My
well,
Colts got a tie. That's all we got to say about that. Because
wow.
we have a few stuff to talk up, Greg, for wrestling wise. So I kind of just put the recaps of last week. Any thoughts on the Clash of the Castle? I think some of the surprises was Seth beating Riddle. I believe you did call it straight up that Roman would win with the help of, or no, you called Dominic to join. We've been
hmm
calling for Solo to join, and it finally came true. So, any thoughts, kind of big picture wise, on anything, Greg, as far as Clash of the Castle?
I like the way it turned out. It was the right thing to do, just going with a handful of matches and making them all mean something, giving them all plenty of time to tell their story and really endear itself to the crowd. And I think they delivered. They really, really delivered. Um, the bringing out Solo the way you did and giving him that huge spotlight was
Yeah.
perfect. Um, and then the dominate turn. We've been forecasting it for a while, and that finally happened. And I like the way they've done that too. It's been the slowest of burns with that happening, but it's finally going down. Um, Walter and Gunther and Sheamus
Mhm.
stole the show.
Yeah.
Uh, um, that was an epic match. Loved everything about it. Just the old, not F, what the FTR used to be in WWE, their old gimmick, no flips, just fists. That's pretty much what it was for that match. And we were here for it. It was awesome. Um, loved the fans putting over Bailey and seeing her reaction is, this is not supposed to happen. And they're singing the Bailey song to her the way they did in NXT. Um, when you go into a new country, all bets are off. They could be on any side of the fence that you can, that's possible.
Oh yeah.
And, they're not supposed to be rooting for Bailey, but it was a big old love fest for Bailey. And I love seeing that because you saw it caught her off guard. It caught everybody off guard. And it changed the dynamic of the match. So everything had its own unique spin to it, including the Seth and Riddle match. So, kudos up and down the card to everybody. And, I'm not mad at anything that happened that night.
Sheamus getting a nice face turn too, especially if you consider kind of the reaction they got even on Friday night. So kind of interesting that now, maybe Sheamus and the Brawling Brutes might be kind of a face trio if they were. But and apparently we were not supposed to see the end with Drew McIntyre and Tyson Fury singing. What did they sing? They sang American Pie, and they're
Sweet
trying to sing
Caroline.
Caroline. I guess because
Yeah, I saw that too. That wasn't supposed to be seen on TV.
yes,
I'm
that
sitting
was
there
not
going,
supposed to
what
be
in the world
aired.
is this?
Well, somebody forgot to turn off the feed, I guess. But oh well. So I don't really know why Tyson Fury punched out Drew or Theory. Tyson Fury touched out Theory. Uh, didn't really seem to make much sense there, but hey, it got Tyson Fury on TV. So there we go. How about Worlds Collide? Probably not, maybe pretty, I think pretty deadly. Getting the win over all those teams was a surprise. Mandy Rose got all the titles. Rob Breaker got all the titles. So NXT UK kind of ate it on the lips there, Greg. Even though we thought you might kind of split it down the middle, but um, yeah, Mandy and Braun are their people going forward. It sounds like.
Yeah, we pretty much figured that's the way it was going to go, with Mandy and Braun retaining. Pretty Deadly gets to represent the UK side. Um, they've only been over on the main NXT roster for a few months,
Yeah.
so they're still pretty much UK guys. So they get to carry the flag there. Um, Love the match with Breaker and Tyler Bate. Like I said, I thought that Breaker was going to win, but I really wanted Tyler Bate to get the win. Um, but excellent match. But I think the match stole the show was Ricochet and Carmelo Hayes. That match was amazing, and I would love to see more of that. That was it set the bar really high, and I don't think the rest of the card caught up to it. But give me some more matches with those two, because that was the barn burner. Start to show off, and after that, you couldn't turn away and
Don't forget Damon
ignore the
Kemp.
rest.
How about that? Damon
True.
Kemp ends up being the mole, as it were. So we'll see how that. Maybe him and Roderick just team together for a bit until they decide, what they want to do with Roderick, if they want to keep him around, or maybe Bobby Fish wants to make a reappearance now that he's free and has had
Right.
plenty to say about CM Punk, as it were. So yeah. And speaking of All Out, here's the winners. There's a ton of matches to talk about. Swerve in Our Glory picked up a win. Christian Cage picks up a win, thanks to Luchasaurus. So AEW did get that right. They realized you had to keep Luchasaurus with Christian Cage for the time being. So that was a nice little swerve. We probably saw the end of Malachi Black in AEW, I believe. Haven't seen that official, but that's kind of the writing there. The Elite pick up a win, but we saw that they are no longer the Trios champion. We saw CM Punk pick up a win, but he is no longer the AEW champion, which we'll get into. Don't you worry, Greg. That is coming soon. The Joker picks up the win, thanks to Stokely Hathaway. And then we see that the Joker is actually MJF. So nice little payday probably for MJF for the time being. And going forward, is there any doubt, Greg, MJF probably should be champion sooner rather than later?
No doubt at all. Doubted about it. Uh, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And now he's come back like a conquering hero, but he's going to have some work to do to get his, face, or actually the heel that runs the place status back.
Yeah.
That promo he did on Wednesday was the step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
But was happy to see that go down. Enjoyed the whole card. There was a whole lot of matches that kind of drug on a little bit, but um, some things I didn't expect. Especially the Acclaim getting over the way they did, and that match with Swerve and Our Glory was off the chain. Part of it being how great the wrestling was, but also hearing how the fans were just so into it, and you could tell that energy fed off. They fed off that energy, and made the match even better. And those false finishes, each one you felt like, okay, they're really going to win it. And then when Swerve ends up winning, you kind of feel the deflation happening, because we all felt it. And so, props for them for fantastic storytelling with that match, and with the rise of the Acclaimed. It was like I was saying when they were doing the program with the Gun Brothers. that it's a nice little side quest, you know, not taken away from the main event picture or the main uh, people in the show, but it's a nice little thing to build up, the next generation, like the Gun Club and the Acclaimed and all the younger guys. And this is what happens. You get that slow build, you give them that exposure, you give them an interesting little gimmick like the scissor me thing that got going on, and it's caught fire. And it was done it organically. It's happened, slowly but surely, and now it's exploded. And now you get something like an awesome match like we saw there. That was probably one of the most impressive things that I saw in the whole show,
There's
with
just
that
nothing
match
to
and the way Claim got over.
there's nothing to swerve in our glory. I just we had the Swerve's house that was like kicking, but Keith Lee, I mean, he's great in the ring, and I mean, I hate it because they always say, well, does he need a character? And I'm like, yeah, kind of. I mean, right? You can't just like Daniel Garcia when he first started, like they had to finally give him something, or Wheeler Yuta. You can't always just rely on good work in the ring and then talking eloquently outside the ring. Like there's got to be a little something there, I would think. But
Right.
what about
It was,
Malachi? Sorry, go ahead, and then we'll jump to Malachi Black for a minute.
and I was thinking it's almost like a double turn happened during the match,
Yeah.
where Swerve and Keith Lee came out as the favorites, and the acclaim gets the acclaim type of reaction. But as the match went on, people really went from about a 50-50 crowd over to 80-20 in favor of the acclaimed, while um, Swerve in Our Glory started getting booed for everything they were doing in the ring. So it was almost like a double turn happened during the match. So that was another interesting facet that happened as that match was unfolding.
What about Malachi Black? I'm guessing he takes some time off, and I mean, is he going to end up back in WWE soon?
I'd say so. Why else would he be asking for his release? He has a great thing happening with the House of Black. I love his presentation. I will say I wish he'd stayed more solo, because his solo entrance was amazing. Um, his presentation, everything, and he's gone from being a featured solo performer to having a faction, which is fine, and the faction's been looking great. I like the pieces they brought in for him, but apparently he's not happy with it, and you know we don't know what happens behind the scenes as far as his reasoning, but you'd assume he wants more individual shine, and now that he sees Triple H back in charge over in WWE, this could be as good a reason as any to know he's going to get painted in the right light. He's going to get to, be featured the way he was in NXT, and his character's not going to get all screwed up the way it was under the Vince McMahon era, when he came up to the main roster. So those could all be reasons why he's, on the way out the door. From what I saw, it was like a conditional release, and usually Tony Khan doesn't do conditional releases. So maybe there is a 30, 60, 90, whatever it is, day non-compete before he gets to show up on another program. But, you have to figure if he's not going to stay in AEW, it's got to be back to WWE.
Maybe it's Zelina gets back on TV with him somehow, give her a little fresh character as well. That could be something, let them work together for a bit. Cause I know married couples, whatnot, like it seems forced, but she needs something to do too. So who knows? Maybe it could kind of give her something different to do. So, well, Greg, what do we want to talk about? This CM Punk Young Bucks drama is definitely this is going to be a Dark Side of the Ring episode one of these days. Pardon the looks of it, but the big thing right now is the Young Bucks are suspended, Brandon Cutler suspended, Kenny Omega suspended. Ace Steel possibly. Don't know what's up with CM Punk. Everybody's lost their titles. What else? Punches were possibly thrown. Dogs were possibly carried out of the rooms to protect them. What else? There was chairs thrown. There was biting. There was hair pulling. I mean, and then to come on top of it, Greg, the comments made by Punk at the media scrum were apparently premeditated in a way. Like he's been thinking this stuff and wanted to talk it out. So that would give you the idea of like people now that the people who are it's a work, that really gives them that fuel to the fire. But I don't think that you make those type of comments to start a media scrum in the back. Start a little scrum in the back. So if there was ever a time, that AEW's got to come together, it's got to be now. It just yes, you go through growing pains, Greg, but I don't know if WWF at the time ever had growing pains like this, or else we don't hear about it. But or WCW, ECW. I don't know. ECW guys probably fought in the back all the time. We probably just didn't hear it because those were some testy guys. But this is we've been saying it. There's just been this weird aura around AEW for the past couple months, and this does not help things. And in the next year, when the Young Bucks contract's up, when Kenny Omega's up, maybe when the Hangman Page is up, it's going to be very interesting. 2025, Greg, MJF up. Where could the scene be? Because you got to think in the next year or so, Triple H in charge. If things are cooking. I mean, who's to say the Young Bucks don't want to do a small, a lighter schedule, get that guaranteed money, really have their family set if they're, not already there already. But I don't know, Greg. There's definitely a rift in the ranks, and Jericho's probably going to step up in the back. Moxley's probably going to step up, but I don't think Moxley necessarily wants to be in that role. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Other than that, though, maybe Christopher Daniels, who's kind of I think he seems to be somebody who could maybe be in the middle. Maybe Samoa Joe. There's guys back there, Greg, that I think they're going to have to bridge these gaps because obviously there's a big rift between CM Punk and, unfortunately, it sounds like everybody. I don't know who's on CM Punk's side anymore. And that's what I think the biggest thing is. Like, if this is his last run, man, what a sucky way to go out. Not that the first run was any better. I don't know if this would be any better. Like, this is probably a worse way to have all this, kind of aura surrounding you, like, just the way that he's been viewed. Give me your thoughts. Where are we going with all this?
Yeah, for some reason that AEW is looking like a rudderless ship right now, and Punk has been kind of the captain of this rudderless ship.
The Titanic.
Yeah, exactly. And it's starting to hit that iceberg, and that iceberg may be Punk's ego. And this has been old hat for him. He had this reputation in WWE. He had this reputation in pretty much every other program he's been in, every other company, and now it's starting to surface again. He's just over a year back in the game, and when he came back and he was doing, the victory lap, and we were wondering how long is Happy Punk going to last, and he's so much better when he's angry Punk, and now it's starting to show. Angry Punk is coming out, and he's going into business for himself, doing things like, calling out Hangman Page when Hangman Page either isn't there or isn't slotted to come out and respond, and making your homegrown talent look bad. And now this, getting into a fist fight with the Young Bucks and, the EVPs, and pretty much the locker room is banding together against him. So, you have the one you can still consider Punk the megastar in the room, as far as being the one that everybody knows or the one who's um, has the most star power. If you look at it in comparison to the Bucks and Kenny, and that they're indie stars. Um, Here in the U.S., they're not as big a name as CM Punk is, and you can tell that when he came back and how big a response he got. So, it's Punk and everybody else, and he's the one who is the center of all the attention and all this division. And now the locker room is getting toxic, and now WWE is looking like a much better place to be until you get this cancer out of the locker room. And you didn't think Punk would be the cancer this time around, but that's how it's looking. So it's a shame that it's going down like that, because with him in the mix, throwing him in with all these great wrestlers AEW has, you could be printing money for years and years and years, and now it's self-destructing. So it's really a shame that it's all starting to happen like that.
Does it have to end up with him being released?
Looks like it. I mean, how is he going to make amends with everybody for the way he's acted, for the stuff he said in the press conference? You know, not like he wasn't naming names, he was calling out everybody.
Yeah.
And, how do you make that right? Because, that heat's still going to be very hot and, behind the scenes, in the locker room. So, and you know how these backstage stories carry over into on screen. Um, those guys that are getting called out, getting run down by him, are going to want their receipts. And so, how are they going to handle that? How is he going to handle that? So, the only the easiest way to push or get all this purge is to get rid of Punk. And I don't see a way he can save himself this time, unfortunately.
Then you almost wonder, like, where does he go? I'm sure there would be options out there, but I would think wrestling wise that has to be the end. I can't
Yeah.
imagine. You know, I don't think, because if he goes back, if he's trying to knock on WWE's door, does that just show like, oh, you're just crawling back there? So it's like, and then he's smarter than that.
And it's not like he and Triple H had a great relationship
Exactly.
anyway. They had a very contentious relationship too. So
Now
I
maybe
don't think
Paul Heyman could be the voice of reason there. You never
true.
know. I mean, but yeah. So, what about the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, WWE bound in 2025 possibly? Any odds you put on that? Is it 50-50? Or
I
is it
love it
even
more
higher now?
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it more now than I did 2 months ago because of the Triple H era change. Um, if Vince McMahon was in charge, I would be like, no freaking way, I want to see that. But with Triple H in charge, I would love to see it. I mean, who wouldn't love to see the Young Bucks against the Usos, or Young Bucks against a New Day, or there's dream matches just waiting to happen. Bring the Young Bucks in, put the Young Bucks at WrestleMania. Holy crap, let's do that. Um, Same thing with Kenny. You know, I would you talk about a guy who can beat Roman Reigns heads up. That guy. Um, you have faith that he's not going to be brought in. They're going to change his name, and they're going to change his look, and he's still going to be Kenny Omega, and everybody in WWE is going to know who he is. Um, and now you have another main event guy, um, just waiting to take over. It took a minute for me to get used to Kenny because I'd never seen him before AEW, and I just think it's going to be kind of the same way for the WWE fan that doesn't watch AEW, and I know there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Um, to get used to his style, his uh, the way he presents himself and things like that. But nobody's better at these presentations than WWE, from the vignettes to um, how they drop these matches, things like that. And with Triple H letting these guys go and trusting them to uh, work together and put together these great matches and not be so micromanaged,
Yeah.
that I had total faith that when Kenny comes in, that he'd still be as amazing as he is now, if not more so, and he'd be an instant megastar.
And you got
So
to think Kevin Owens being their inside guy there too. The Young Bucks, Mount Rushmore. Who
right,
knows? So, and I think it was Triple H who kind of did the talking to the Young Bucks when that whole, there was those discussions possibly. So, who's to say Triple H isn't, tampering right now, as it were, behind the scenes. But I guess the biggest thing is, what would they want? Because, do they still want, creative control? Do they want this? I mean, I'd say give it to them. But, how WWE works, we don't always know if you can
hmm
just give that to them. So, in a year or two, it'll be very interesting to see the landscape of
yeah,
wrestling. Or to say, or, does, if you get rid of Punk, does AEW somehow rally behind the Young Bucks?
yeah.
And that keeps them there. So
And you can see Triple H is loosening the rules. He's taken out a lot of the restrictions that
yeah,
Vince had in place, and the guys, or everything you see on screen has been, more easy, more, um, you know, more natural.
hmm
The storylines make sense. There's a lot that's come together in a very short time that he's been in charge. And, you wondered if there would be a real difference. There has been a very real difference. So with all that, plus, you know, them going up to a TV 14 rating, um, the guys are getting to be the guys now, and it's not just, you know, guys who are just there to sell action figures and do endorsement spots. So, they're putting the realism back into it and putting the wrestling back into professional wrestling and starting to use those terms again. So, um, I love it, and they need to keep doing it. And with Triple H in charge, I have no doubt they will.
especially if you think TV contract deals could be up in 2024, 2025. So who's to say, you know, Time Warner, TNT, TBS don't think, okay, where do we want to go with this? So definitely going to be an interesting time, and just just a sucky way though, like in such a high weekend. Like such
Yeah,
really, like we said, really strong matches, really good cards, and just a good aura of wrestling. And then, you hear this, and it's kind of funny to think, like, I never would have pictured the Bucks and Omega being like, but it shows that, hey, when push comes to shove, you got to defend yourself. And that's the thing, too. It's like we'll never know who threw the first punch. It's kind of like back in school. Sometimes you just see the person who got the punch back.
yeah,
Who's to say the Young Bucks didn't throw the first punch? Who's to say Kenny Omega didn't, push somebody first? But, they always say it doesn't matter who threw the first one. It's how it ends. And that's,
yeah,
and this probably has to end sooner rather than later because, like I said, there's just that weird aura around it. So,
yeah. And the sooner the better, because it's going to mess up all the storylines. I mean,
we've
with
already
Punk
seen.
there, now you have something awesome going on with the MJF coming back, but that's going to tie things up if we don't know if he's staying or not. Same thing with Moxley. They were starting to do a Moxley Punk thing. So is he going to be there or isn't he? Otherwise, they're going to have to pivot Moxley somewhere else. So,
We've
for the
already had
sake
to
of
stretch
continuity,
champions. like,
yeah, they're going to have to do some some moving to just to get the storylines to make sense.
And I think they're not even calling them interim champions. This is going to be like the Dark Horse, Death Triangle 1 on Wednesday. They're legit trios champions. They're not interim. So,
Right.
Moxley's going to be a third-time champion. Because you feel like if you want somebody to beat, or if you want MJF to beat somebody, or maybe you give it back to Jericho, let Jericho have a little run.
Yeah, it makes sense, but I think it makes more sense to give it back to Moxley. So when he loses it to MJF,
you have storyline with that whole idea too.
Right, and it's not like he hasn't held the title all summer. So, yeah, one blip in the radar, losing to Punk, and now he goes and wins it back, and now it's time for the MJF storyline to breathe for a few months.
Yeah.
So you could do something like that, and then it doesn't take any shine off Moxley. You know, he did become 3-time champ in the process, and then MJF gets over bigger because he took the belt off the biggest dog in the yard, so to speak. So you can play that angle.
I think it kind of sucks too. I don't know if I read somewhere, I don't know if you saw, but Moxley was going to take time off, which is well deserved. Yeah. So now it's like, well, sorry, baby Nora, Daddy's going back. I mean, you almost have to put all your eggs in the Moxley basket, don't you? Now, I mean, carrying the company in and outside the ring.
Yeah, pretty much. And from that from the looks of the tournament, it looks like the best thing they could do is put another Moxley Danielson match together, because they're on the opposite sides of the bracket. So you know you're going to get an epic there, you know, with the title on the line. So that's my vote for the championship match, and then you know, Moxley comes out and sets up everything with MJF, because they've already started planting the seed for that.
Well-deserved time off, though, if Moxley can get it.
Yeah,
but I
definitely.
don't think it's going to be anytime soon, unfortunately.
Yep. So win, drop the belt in a month or two, and then you can take off and have some time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But shout out to Death Triangle, because remember for our prediction show, that was who I wanted to win the trios titles, and it took a weird path to getting there, but I got what I wanted.
On the other side, Greg, the best friends who I called out, I would have loved to see. So I was like, go figure, our two dark horses end up there. So
yep, I thought about that too. So
that's kind of funny. But we will take let's get a couple commercial breaks, because we've talked a lot, and I need to get some water in me because we've talked so much about this. So let's get a couple commercial breaks, and then we'll get right back into Raw, NXT, and SmackDown, and kind of see where things are going there. And yeah, good first half hour of this show so far. All right, let's get one more commercial in just for your viewing pleasure. I forgot that. But yeah, one more, and then we'll get right into it. Monday Night Raw, we started off with Judgment Day, Dominic joining them, coming out with, Rhea. We had Edge out there. We had, all the pieces, Ray out there. I believe we're going to get Edge and Dominic at some point. I thought they talked that up for next week. Damian Priest did defeat Rey Mysterio later on. I just don't know, Greg, who's going to join Ray and Edge to kind of even things out, because right now it's hard telling. Are they just going to keep getting beat down?
Well, I think Beth's going to have to come in and be the neutralizer for Rhea, and then I know they've been throwing AJ Styles into the mix,
Get him back
so
on.
maybe he's the guy to come out of the woodwork and even the sides. Otherwise, there's not really another secondary character to throw in there that has been part of this storyline that's not already there. So
And that makes sense because it's a bunch of veterans against, upstarts. Even though Finn is like 36 or 35 or 37, I think. So, and of course, Damian Priest is 40. So never mind that kind of. But anyways, yeah, kind of. I'm fine with that. What about Braun Strowman back in the mix, Greg? Just destroying stuff. People are cheering for him, even when he tripped and missed the running clothesline on somebody. I forget who was outside the ring, but he kind of tripped and fell. Uh, you know, so Braun Strowman back. I think Control the Narrative is done. They've already lost Buddy Matthews. I think Alistair, who else? Karrion Kross was there. EC3 is that Will Smith meme where he's just with his hands in the pocket, Greg, and looking at the empty room right now for his Control the Narrative, because it's pretty much him and Austin Aries. And as much as Austin Aries was fun back in the day, he's really rubbed me the wrong way lately. So I'm good if he doesn't show back up anywhere. But Braun Strowman back, clean shaved head, no more of that dumb whatever look he had going on. Dave Raquel Rodriguez, which I thought was interesting that she was positioned right afterwards. So they will be back together on the road. But what about thoughts on Braun Strowman, Greg, back in the mix of things?
I'm curious to see what they're going to do with him. He looks great. He looks, he's really leaned out, and it's not just a giant mass of flesh running around and, um, plowing people. He looks like he really spent time off since he was released and, got his fitness up and looking great. And you can tell because he's now coming out with no shirt on and, muscles rippling. So, he took that time off and, went through, Impact and whatever other little organizations he's went through and, honed his craft. And now he's back looking better than ever and, ready to be a big player. So I will reserve my judgment. I hope what they do with him is, it's good. Um, you can't have enough superstars. And so I'm gonna wait and see how they do it.
Him and almost down the road, I would assume.
That would be very nice. If anybody could get almost, drag a great match out of almost, it would be him.
I mean, I still kind of remember the Big Show Braun Strowman match that really opened my eyes to what both guys could do in the ring when they really wanted to. So I think
Sure.
that was a random main event there when Braun was really, Braun was always that guy though, Greg. You kept waiting for them to put the rocket ship on him, and they kept pulling back. So we'll see
Yeah.
if you finally, and it was too late. When they did. He's still the greatest Royal Rumble champion though. If that title's still a thing, he's got that maybe sitting in the house somewhere, Greg. With his tag team championship with Nicholas. So for the
Yeah.
random assortment of titles he's won. So um, the new tag team champions defeated Nikki Ash and Doudrop, and they also defeated Toxic Attraction. They're going to face Damage Control, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai next week, Greg. But I assume we see Sasha and Naomi back after that match, or during it, or before, or at some point, right?
Yeah, I mean, whoever wins, that's going to ruin the celebration post match because then we're going to hear their music hit and they're going to come out and the place is going to blow up. And yeah, so I think we're both seeing it the same way that this is the week that it's going to go down.
Um, just finished up New York Fashion Week for them. Sasha looks much better, Greg, with like dark brown hair. Um, I was kind of jealous because she actually looked pretty nice, and I kind of joked my picture with her. She did not look like herself, so I was like, "Come on, man! Like now you look all normal and you know attractive, and you look like an alien in my picture." But that's okay. She'll probably block me on Twitter for that. Great, but that's Kevin Owens defeated Theory. What in the world are we doing with Theory? I mean, I guess it's the usual Money in the Bank stuff, but I don't know. And what are we doing with? I mean, Owens at least is back to his NXT stuff, but I think Owens is going to need some sort of feud sooner rather than later as well, right?
Yeah, but it's taking time to reestablish prize fighter KO,
Yeah.
and people are eating it up, and now it's gonna be time to get him an opponent and take it to the next level. So I think that's what these last few weeks have been. Reintroduce prize fighter, and as far as Austin goes, there's a change in philosophy with him too, as far as the whole Vince McMahon backstage thing, and the guys getting to have take their shots at him about Daddy being gone, and reposition him a different way. So I think with Gargano coming back, that's going to be a big part of it. But that the one confusing thing from Clash at the Castle was why in the world was Tyson Fury knocking him out. I mean,
Yeah.
that made no sense at all. Um,
And they
I get
never
that,
touched on it
right.
again.
And even if you can see, Drew McIntyre is his boy, um, that's the only straw I could grasp at that would make any sense that he didn't want him to cash in on Drew, so he knocked him out. Um, but he has no reason to get involved. He's not a wrestler. He hasn't done anything in the ring for a couple years, I think. Um,
It was him and Braun, wasn't it? I think him and Braun had that match.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
then him and Drew were going back and forth on Twitter, and I thought that could have led to something. So who's to say, you know, it sounds like Fury wants to get involved, but his real life job is kind of holding him back.
probably, but
Maybe I don't know. So,
but
but yeah,
this
I
will
don't
be
know.
fun to see what happens with him.
Like I said, Theory, unless you're just going to do the whole lose, 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 and then he win. He's not going to beat Roman though. I mean, if Drew couldn't beat Roman in his own damn country, Greg, I don't know why we would have Theory be the guy to dethrone Roman.
You know what though? There could be so many failed attempts that we just get used to it,
Yeah,
and there's that one time where he pulls it off, and we're all sitting in stunned silence because
that could be.
we're used to him just finding a new way to fail.
Yeah,
So, they could be doing something like that.
that could be. Yeah. Bianca Belair interrupted Damage Control. That's their name going forward. Kind of leading because Bailey was the one who got the pin on Bianca. So I think I'm fine with going Bianca and Bailey for a bit there. Damian Priest defeated Rey Mysterio, and how about Lashley defeating The Miz, only to have Dexter Lumis with the greatest GIF of all time sliding under the ring as Miz was coming down and then chokes him out. So, Greg, is Loomis just going to have to, is The Miz going to eventually get Loomis on his side so that he has Ciampa and Loomis as, his boys somehow?
I hope not. No,
Is that too easy?
for for one, I hate Champa being on the Miz's side to begin with. I get the
Yeah,
purpose of it, but Champa needs to be
on
Champa.
his
I
own.
mean, on his own, psycho killer, not wearing the stupid card around his neck and being a Miz clone. And like I said, it's going to take a little bit more time to undo the hot mess that Vince left him with, and this is one of those things. So I know it's just a matter of being patient. We're going to get old Champa back. Um, just like we're going to get the old Theory back. We're going to have old Gargano, and the NXT guys are going to be resumed to their former glory. So it's just a matter of being patient, waiting it out. But I do not want to see Loomis and Miz and Ciampa, forming this weird stable. Nope, nope, nope.
Yeah, I just don't know what we do with Loomis right now, but it's fun to see him pop up in places for now. And also, we did see a little. There was that weird backstage segment. I don't know if you caught it, Greg, but Dewdrop and Nikki Ash arguing in the back, and Nikki throws the mask at Dewdrop. So maybe finally getting rid of the superhero aspect for Nikki Ash and becoming Nikki, whatever her name was. What was her name before now?
It's still Nikki Cross.
Nikki Cross.
Nikki Cross.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm talking about right here. The old characters are getting restored.
Yeah.
And you know how I feel about Sanity Nikki. I would love to have Sanity Nikki back. But just, done with superhero Nikki. Get rid of that. And, I'm sure you've seen like the weird stuff going on backstage, but nobody mentions it.
And by design.
Yeah, it's
now the car crash stuff I still don't get. Because they've had a couple like they definitely had the car crash scene when the Miz was walking by. And then they also had a car crash scene like a few weeks ago.
Right, and there seems to be a car crash every episode.
Yeah.
So you kind of wonder what that's about.
Yeah.
And later it'll be explained, but I love how it's just there. It's just there and nobody mentions it, and unless you're paying attention to what's happening in the background, you don't see it. And you see, mysterious things lurking. It's probably something long term going on that they'll piece together 3-6 months from now, and then it'll all make sense. But I see it. You probably see it because we're.
You know who we need on the case? Rizongo. They're detectives.
Yeah, we're doing great. We don't need to bring everybody back.
Well, Breeze is back on Up, Up, Down, Down. I'm just surprised he hasn't been back on TV yet. But him and Xavier Woods have been doing video game stuff. How about some NXT talk? So it's weird that Dewdrop and Nikki, of course, lose on Raw and SmackDown, Greg, but then they win on NXT. Go figure. Gallus interrupted, attacked Tyler Bate. That led to a tag team match, between Tyler Bate and Braun Breaker, defeating Joe and Mark Coffey. We also saw JD McDonough in there, kind of, looking at both guys. He defeated Wes Lee. Roxanne took the loss. Ricochet. Maybe Ricochet is going to stay down there, Greg. Is that what it looks like?
Yeah, I mean, give Ricochet a chance to, reinvent himself too. I mean, he was just really, really misused on the main roster. After his initial push when he came up with Aleister Black and he won the tag team championships, after that it was all downhill. So he could use, some momentum and maybe a title run and, get his mojo back and then come back to the main roster because he still belongs on the main roster. But in the meantime, he can have a great rivalry with Carmelo Hayes and some of the other guys down there, like Grayson Waller or, Tony D'Angelo, guys like that, and really get his shine back. So for now, I'd definitely keep him down there because there's a lot already percolating on the main roster that, he's going to not have a slot yet. So, they need more star power on NXT right now because I think Triple H is seeing that just having a locker room full of green people, learning their way is not the way to uh, have good viewership um, on the main roster among the people who, give it a chance. And, you know, you need some veterans down there to, make everything better. So,
Just
why
if you
not leave
keep,
Ricochet down there, leave Doudrop and Nikki down there, and bring some other established talent down to make the whole program better.
especially if you keep towing that line where they're like, well, it's on the level of Raw and SmackDown, but it's developmental. Like, I think you got to go one way or the other. I don't like the idea of just, because like you brought up, well, AEW beat our developmental, but at the time he wasn't calling it developmental. So that is the one thing, and I understand you got to say the right thing, but um, yeah. So, Miko Satomura defeated Roxanne Perez. I don't know. I can't remember. Did we see Cora Jade come out here, or did she come out Worlds Collide?
I think it was after the match at Worlds Collide, she came out
Yeah,
and kind of mocked Miko.
yeah.
Why don't you take a match with me and it'll be your honor kind of thing. And
Maybe we'll get
Miko
her
was like,
back.
I already have a match against Roxanne Perez, and
Yeah. So probably gonna have to get her and Miko, and Satomura down there. That's a huge hit, just of her, international power. I know statewide she hasn't done that well. Axum defeated Nathan Frazier in their first match of best of three. Hopefully this won't be a Sheamus Cesaro where they end up tied and they become a tag team, but they're probably going to be a tag team because they've already kind of shown on screen chemistry, right? So it
mhm.
wouldn't surprise me if they're going to be a tag team down the road after this match or after this series.
Yeah, the series are a lost start. I mean,
Yeah,
I used to love the series when they did it back in the day during the territories, old NWA, and um,
SmackDown had a lot better than they did too. It felt like.
yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with a good series and build the anticipation. One match a week, and it's always going to end up tied with the fifth match in the series or the seventh match in the series. All comes down to this kind of thing. So we know it's going to happen, but the build up and how they do it, there's so many avenues you could go down to make it the must see thing. Um, and they've gone away from doing that for a long time. So seeing the series come back, and especially when the two great talents like these guys. So will they end up as a you know as a tag? Likely they're very similar styles, and um, but it's a way to show everybody that these aren't two random people just getting thrown together.
Yeah.
The way they've been doing and showing these guys can work together. Their styles complement each other, and if they work together, they could come up with some great like tandem offense stuff like that. So
They won't have to
can't be
bleed
mad
with
at
each
it.
other like Blackpool Combat Club, but they could fight each other. I believe I was at Night of Champions or Clash of Champions when Sheamus and Cesaro had the final match that ended up tied, which is what it is. But I was
Yeah,
there for that. So
I think
I
that's
think
how Birch and Lorcan came together, is having a
yep,
series of matches, and then
yep,
they figure out we'd be much better as a team, and end up being a really good team. So
yep. There's a couple names I'm surprised haven't been brought back for NXT yet, but uh, really haven't seen much of either one on the indie scene as well. So maybe that's finally, how about some SmackDown stuff? Um, Imperium, all back as one, back in black. Newer theme song, but that's fine. But presentations there, we did forget to bring this up. That Giovanni Vinci was introduced on that Clash at the Castle Grey. Oh, and of course, the big news: Pat McAfee will be away from SmackDown during the college football season while he's doing college football stuff. I think he's a guy, Greg, that just wants to get his feet wet everywhere, doesn't he? So um, names have been brought up. Somebody kept asking for Nigel McGuinness. I think that would be a good name. I don't maybe Wade. I think Wade Barrett with Michael Cole could be something. Um,
yeah,
uh, I think Nigel is the guy though. I
Yeah.
really like because him and Michael Cole work very well together. I mean, you still remember back to that first UK pay per view. It felt like Cole had energy renewed to him, and it'll be a different aura. But McAfee comes back after January, and shows back up maybe at Rumble time or something, and we're back off and running with him doing Shinsuke Nakamura and trying to break Michael Cole every segment. Yeah. Any thoughts there, Greg, about McAfee being away? I figured they would use Corey Graves in the time being, but they definitely need somebody. I think going outside the box would be ideal.
Yeah. Shout out to McAfee. Get your money, man. College game day is big deal, and that's only going to be more shine for WWE because he's not gonna they're not gonna shy away from the fact that he's a wrestling announcer. I'm sure he's gonna come up here and there, and he's gonna give them shout outs. So good on him. Do your thing, come back. In the meantime, I would love to see Nigel McGuinness take the spot at the desk. Remember, I was calling for him to sit in for Worlds Collide. His energy is awesome. His knowledge is, top notch, and he'd be perfect sitting there next to Cole. I like your pick of
Wade.
Wade. He'd be a great sounding board also. Or I don't know what the deal is between why he left or anything, but I used to love Mauro Ranallo. I think he was having a big issue with JBL because I think JBL was on the desk when Mauro was there, and maybe they did not get along. But I'd love to see Mauro come back. He's got that McAfee type of energy to him, to also. So I think Cole and Mauro would be fun to listen to. So, and how about now that he's retired again? Why not put Ric Flair back there? Who would love to see Ric Flair? No, not Ric Flair on commentary.
I can't even understand when he talks sometimes, Greg. You're gonna put him on commentary? No.
Everybody would be here for it. I'd love to hear Ric Flair on commentary.
Away from everything and just go enjoy the whatever he's doing now. Car show commercial. So, what about Imperium back? Our boys are back. OS one for all.
Love it. I love the Imperium, and another Vince McMahon casualty, and now Triple H has brought him back, give him back the old presentation. No more red jackets for Gunther. Back to the classic black and white, and I'm loving it. That match they had against the Brawling Brutes was a banger, and we're going to see more of that. I mean, keep them strong because when they stand across from the bloodline, it's going to be one of those moments where everybody's going to be on the edge of their seats. And that's all. That's what it's all about. You need that competition. You need people that stand across the ring from the bloodline that gets your energy up. And it's not just going to be another ho hum type of match. And Imperium can definitely bring it. So love that they're back in full force.
Drew McIntyre came at Solo Sikoa, after his interference, and then he ends in a no contest at the end. Talk about a couple days for Solo, just right up to the main event. But Karrion Kross takes out Drew McIntyre with the cross jacket. There's our main event for Extreme Rules, Greg. Because I'm hearing Roman will probably not be there, so it'll be interesting to see a main event with no title, but possibly number one contendership in a way between Drew and Karrion there. So, what do we think about Solo kind of stepping up to the plate and the Drew McIntyre match with him?
Yeah, love Solo stepping up. He's getting the proper introduction to the main roster, and he was having a great match with Drew before, the shenanigans at the end happened, but this way he doesn't take an L on his first night out.
Yeah.
He looks like a guy who can hang with Drew, and he fits right in, standing between his brothers in the bloodline and Sami Zayn. I'm just wondering what the over under is on how many more weeks before he takes a triple super kick and is ousted from the bloodline. Because that's going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
Um,
We don't need Sammy in there anymore.
yeah, it is funny watching him, dance
I
the Sammy dance while the bloodline is doing their
oh yeah.
swag filled strut to the ring, and Sammy's there throwing off the whole thing. Love that, but like you said, we don't need Sammy back there anymore. Where you have the three Usos now, in full effect here and ready to go. So, um, yeah, love it. So,
Yeah. How about your boy? He's going to get his name back. It looks like because L.A. Knight, you have to go through some days to get to the night or whatever he said. Yeah. So it looks like we'll get the return of L.A. Knight sooner rather than later, Greg. That should be fun stuff.
well, just when you figure he's going to do the manager thing, and that's going to get his exposure, and he's eventually going to get in the ring and do his stuff.
Rest of the
I like Max Dupree better than LA Knight as far as ring names go, but you know, as long as he gets back in the ring and starts doing his thing, and that talk show segment that I've been chomping on for over a year,
yeah.
it's on the way. It's on the way. Once he gets the mic in his hand and starts doing promos like he can do,
Yeah.
it's going to happen. So I'm just here for it, ready for it, and I won't have to tell you I told you so because you'll know it the moment it happens.
Oh,
But for the rest of Steven Nation, who may be new to the game, just tuning in, it's like I called this a long time ago. So, if that's what it takes to get the show, bring back LA Knight and do the thing. So,
I
but
think you can have Maxine still with
the models,
yeah, let her kind of do that thing.
or it could be Maxine's male models or something
Yeah.
like that. So you keep the acronym in place.
Oh,
So
I mean,
not a problem
and
there.
eventually they might pick up some wins, but at the same time, let's face it, they're just a kind of a comedy filler act for the time being. So. Raquel Nalia picked up another win, Greg, over Toxic Attraction. I don't necessarily like Toxic Attraction coming in on SmackDown and losing, but them probably doing double duty until Mandy Rose is ready to come up. It probably makes sense. But what about Ronda Rousey? We're going to get her and Liv for the third time. Any thoughts on there? Does Shayna show up in that match, Greg?
I think after the match, after Ronda beats Liv, which I'm already going and predicting that's going to happen, that they come out and beat down Liv and maybe do you know, a bone breaking of some sort.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, putting their arm in the chair, the old, the way they usually, break limbs in WWE. Folding the chair around the arm or the leg or something like that. And so the tag team with Ronda and Shayna is imminent, I think. But like I said, this is all part of solving the Sasha and Bailey problem with them having no competition. You're going to have Toxic Attraction up there. You're going to have potentially Ronda and Shayna. Um, you're going to have Aaliyah and Raquel for the short term. The short term. Um, so you're going to have Bailey's group, Damage Control. So you already have a much better field than they had when they left with just those four teams. And there's going to be more added to the mix. Eventually going to bring Caden Carter and um, Katana or whatever her name is. They're going to be there. And so it's all about deepening the field of contenders for Sasha and Bailey, so those matches make sense, the titles make sense, have some value, and now you solve the problem of and keep Sasha and Naomi happy, and then you have another legit tag or title picture happening.
I mean, I might go the opposite of you, Greg, and say maybe Shayna tries like accidentally cost Ronda the match. Because
The jealousy angle.
yeah, I feel like Ronda and Shayna. I want them together, but at the same time, they should destroy the tag team division if you really consider it. So maybe them going at each other first, you know, is the way to go. And it gives Liv a good, I mean, Liv keeps winning that way, Greg, but at the same time, that's kind of how their position lives. So, three wins over Ronda and a win over Shayna, that's quite the notches in your championship defense belt, as it were. So,
True.
I'll be interested to see which way they go on that. Braun Strowman destroyed the Alpha Academy. Like we said, we don't know what Braun is headed for yet. Hopefully used the right way, though. Hopefully he's not behind the car wreck stuff. Even though it was fun to see him, destroy stuff here and there. But then we did talk about Drew and Solo ending in a no contest. So, poor Sammy whenever he gets kicked out. But like I said, if that gives me Sammy and KO together, give it to me.
There you go.
Give me the shirts. Give me the everything on that end. So, let's get in our quick realty talk. Then we'll get some AW talk and our last call. So, let's get this quick realty talk and talk up AW and all that transpired over the week there.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy Dan over at BWSPORTS1.com and Black and White Sports. And I'm wondering if you're ready to buy or sell that home, now's the time, and I got just the person for you. Mr. Sean Nugent, a.k.a. Rockstar Realtor himself. 317-503-8322. Put that home on the market. Get into your dream home with this man. Talk to Sean at Talk to Tucker today, 317-503-8322. And make sure you tell him the boys over at BWSports1.com sent you.
So we got Moxley interrupting MJF. MJF is a Buffalo guy, so he had to turn the crowd against him in that regard. But Moxley and MJF is probably the way to go because of the Punk factor and Punk being out. So, any thoughts there, Greg, at the beginning of the night?
No, I liked it. That now it's going to shift to MJF and Moxley. It's going to be a great rivalry, and when you bring back MJF, you want him against the top dog. And if there's not going to be a Punk and a way to reheat that rivalry, and there's been enough time since the dog collar match for that to have been a real thing, then this is the next best thing. And doing the tournament, have Moxley be the man, and have it jump off from there. So love this segment. The promo was great, from MJF and then from Moxley, their interaction. Is he going to be able to keep up with Moxley at all? Nope. On the stick, or I'm sorry, is Moxley going to be able to keep up with MJF on the stick? Absolutely not. But just the realism they're going to hit you with is going to be awesome. So I'm here for it.
And Moxley doesn't need to, in a way, because when Moxley does talk, I think he can carry his own. Your friends, Death Triangle, pick up a good win to win the AEW World Trios Championship. Like I said, I don't believe they mentioned interim. I think they just said straight up winning it, right? So there you go. Defeat
new champs.
New champs. What I thought, best friends and Orange Cassidy should win, but kind of funny how both our teams ended up there. But I mean, no doubt about it, they both deserve to be there, and probably in the first place should have been the inaugural champions, if you really think about it. So, any thoughts on that match? I thought a really solid match, and best friends in Orange Cassidy, when it comes time, Greg, they can really go in the ring. I mean, we still think back to some of those pandemic, matches like Orange Cassidy and Jericho and best friends and Proud and Powerful. I mean, they can really hold their own when it comes to it. So
Yeah, absolutely can. It was a great match. Really enjoyed it, and not just because my team was the one that ended up winning. Um, it's interesting dynamic always when you put two fan favorite teams in there against each other and seeing how it plays out. But it just ended up being a super solid match that everybody had plenty to cheer for on both sides, and you know there was no real loser because the fans won. Everybody looked great, and Dev Triangle ended up being the ones with crowned the new champions. So
yep. And we didn't even talk about it. Tony Storm is our interim women's champion. She did defeat Penelope Ford. Whenever we get Thunderstorm one-on-one, I think that should be fun to kind of see which direction they go with that as well, Greg.
yeah, I'm sure they're going to keep Tony as the champ until Thunder Rosa is ready to come back. I'm just curious what's going to happen. There's been the talk about Thunder Rosa having requested her release and not getting granted her release. So seeing if there's more fire behind that smoke. So it's not just on the men's side that all this dysfunction is happening. Thunder's not happy that she's not being presented like the champion she is, and you know the proof is in the pudding. I mean, her last handful of interviews with Tony have all been interrupted. She's been beaten down. She has barely got a chance to say anything before somebody else interrupts her. So, this run as champion has not been a good one for her. So, if I was her, I wouldn't be mad too.
Yeah, and her husband denied it. And no word on what the actual injury is. I feel like that's been very hush hush. Which,
I think there
is
was something
fine.
about her back. She was talking about not being able to walk. Her back was
Okay.
in too much pain, and she wasn't able to,
Okay. Maybe I missed it.
barely able to move. So, listening to her she's on Busted Open Radio on
That's
Fridays,
okay.
and she was talking about she has a back injury that's been the main cause of her not being able to
It was only given a 30-second
wrestle.
promo, right? So she
Yeah.
obviously couldn't get into that, in that regard. So Wardlow defeated Tony Nese. It's about time we give Wardlow like a real feud, or do we like him just picking up wins here and there, or picking up wins, not here and there, but picking up wins and kind of just moving along? I think it's probably time for some sort of feud, though, right?
Yeah. Problem is with the MJF thing um, going the way it did. It took away all of Wardlow's steam, all his momentum. Everything just got squashed. He had his big match where he beat MJF, but after
There's
that,
also that. Then there was that aura member of is MJF even going to be there?
yeah, all of his momentum was taken away because all the attention was on MJF, and then he cut his big pipe bomb promo and he disappeared. So Wardlow was left as the collateral damage because now he had this big win, but it had all gone to waste because all the attention was on Max and nobody was looking at him. And so this is kind of the way, in my view, that they're going to try to get his momentum back, have him get some good wins, um, just beat a range of guys until it's time to bring somebody in just for him and have a real feud. So I can see him doing this for another month and a half, get his theme back, get people down with the reason they fell in love with him in the first place again, and then have them have a big epic rivalry going on
Yep.
with the championship on the line.
Brian Danielson defeated Hangman Adam Page. He'll face Chris Jericho, who got a bye. So does Danielson get his win back off Jericho next week to kind of move ahead into the AEW World Championship Finals? I think it would be. So.
Yeah, you can go either way because we've already painted Moxley into the other side of the bracket, And if Moxley ends up with Jericho, you got your history there. If it ends up being with Danielson, you got your history there. And so there's no wrong answer right here. Both matches are going to be epic. And I think the better one is going to be with Danielson because they've already had one epic match. But in the AEW system, we could use another one. Um, we've seen them go with Jericho a few times, and they've had a full blown rivalry already when Jericho was leading the heel inner circle. So been there, done that, got the T-shirt. So the better idea would be to have two BCC guys in there with each other, uh, knocking each other bloody. So I think that's the way it's going to end up going.
And speaking of Blackpool Combat Club, we have a title change. So Daniel Garcia defeats Little Yuta to win the ROH Pure Championship. And it should be interesting to see where Daniel Garcia ends up next week. Because you got to imagine he's going to be pulled one way or the other, Greg, between Danielson and Jericho next week. But kind of surprising to see a title change, right? Does that mean, does that keep Yuta still in the Blackpool Combat Club? If Garcia's in there, I feel like you could keep both of them in there. And like I said, kind of let Danielson be a mentor coach, as their tag team goes, or if they want to do single stuff. But pretty surprised to see Garcia win, especially on I thought they faced each other at Ring of Honor, and Will or Yuta won, and then you had Garcia calling him out in the scrum afterwards. But now you have Garcia win on a random AEW Dynamite, and when you had your Grand Slam stuff coming up in a couple weeks. So what did we think about all that?
Yeah, I think just because he loses the match, that being Yuta, he's not going to get kicked out of the club. Um, and Garcia he is definitely, BCC material. He should be in there. And they, go ahead and shake hands and, you have another member of the group. He's earned his way in by having a great match with the champ. And that was a fantastic match. I loved how it went down. And you see the fans are really into Garcia now. Um, I'm loving him. The guy's has that hook edge to him, and he's really getting over, especially with the fans. Chanting that you're a wrestler instead of you're a sports entertainer. And you see it starting to sink in. He's still resisting it, but you're gonna have that moment. He's gonna be like, "Yeah, I'm a wrestler," and I'm going to join the other wrestlers and leave Jericho hanging. So I think that's what's going to happen with it. And you can still have him and Yuta, form a team and go after tag team gold, while Moxley and Danielson ended up being the primary singles wrestlers. Because they wouldn't really make sense as a tag team. So I can see something like that happening.
Or I know you said you could also do Garcia Danielson if you really wanted to, but I feel like Real or Yuta and Garcia as the tag team makes a lot more sense. How about there's a few stuff that happened on Rampage. Sammy Guevara picked up a win. Serena Deeb picked up a win. Claudio picked up a win over Dax Harwood. Man, they are pushing the Dax Harwood match of the year candidates, aren't they, Greg? They're just we might have his name as wrestler of the year, even his tag team aspect. And I believe Samoa Joe was back, calling out.
Yep.
What's his name again? John Jacob, or whoever, he called out somebody from what is it? The team, I can't remember. You'll have to help me out. But anyways, so Samoa Joe back is always good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Love Joe. And
Any thoughts on Rampage?
no, just good matches, and always good to see Joe back, ready to conduct some business, and got a nice promo. I wasn't crazy about the Claudio and Dax match, but it was good. It was,
Yeah.
which they're really pushing Dax as a singles wrestler. I wonder what that's about, but 'cause there's no reason to break up FTR.
I think it's just
So
one of those things. He just does it here and there. You know, I mean, they still should probably be pushed as a tag team. You know, especially being the three AAA and the ROH and New Japan title holders. But and you know, we did get it. We're gonna have to get them a Motor City Machine Guns down the road. It looks like, so we'll hopefully get that in the next couple weeks and let that kill the game, as they say. So yeah.
And Sammy and Darby was the show stealer of the night. That was a
Yeah.
fantastic match. So
Probably surprising Sammy picked up the win.
no,
No.
not at all. Especially with all the shenanigans going on with the JAS
Yeah, that's true.
and all the people who are available to get involved. You know, you kind of expected it, but like I said, doing it that way, you know, it doesn't affect Darby much, and you know, he still looks like the hero at the end of the day. So, but yeah, loved the match and even loved the finish. So, no wrong answer there.
Then I didn't really have any last call. Do you have any last call you want to throw out, Greg, or wrap up the show? Did your Chargers pick up the win? I think I saw they picked up a win.
Chargers won 24-19, forcing lots of turnovers. Khalil Mack, I think, had 2 sacks and a first forced fumble in his first game. So, look out for that duo, the Bosa and Mack
And my Colts got a
coming off the
tie.
edges. So, well, we figure both our teams went undefeated
Technically, yeah.
semantically.
I will
Neither one of them
say
lost.
the Colts put in 17 points in the fourth quarter. Boy, too bad that couldn't have showed up in the beginning of the game. But yeah, well, I was reading here, SB Nation put 5 of the last 6 Raider Chargers games have been decided by one score. The September 2022 Chargers win by 5. January 2022 Raiders win by 3. December 2020 Chargers won by 3. November 2020 Raiders won by 5. December 2019 Raiders won by 2. So there must have been a 6th game where it was more than one score, but that's what happens when you get rivalries, right? Like rivalry games.
Exactly. No better way to start the season by beating your hated rival.
Yeah.
To start things off. So getting your first win against the Raiders, yes, especially since we lost the opportunity for the playoffs against the Raiders to end the season last year. So
yeah, they definitely should make like the first week all divisional type games. I know the end of the season usually is that type.
Yeah.
But because like my Colts played the Texans and whatnot. All right, well, if that's it, I think we're good. I think we covered all the bases because I figured the CM Punk All Elite news would take precedent because of and the fact that there's legal action possibly. I don't see legal action happening. I think they'll at least let that slide, but like we said, Greg, I don't know how you're going to come back from this. So I think like we said, we probably need to hear something on CM Punk saying like whether he's suspended or out indefinitely or suspended indefinitely or something. Because right now I feel like there's not been any word other than taking his title away.
Right. If you're Tony Khan, what do you do? Yes, that's your last call.
I mean, I just have to. I hate saying that. I think you have to cut the cord and just kind of let it be. I mean, it sucks because Tony Khan doesn't want to do it. I mean, look how he is with his wrestlers. Every scrum he's all about them, but and I guess on CM Punk when you're good, you have that chip on your shoulder. But at the same time, don't you almost have to have a chip on the other shoulder? Like, okay, I'm in it. I'm trying to do this for the right reasons. I'm trying to be a veteran, locker room presence. Unless it doesn't matter to him. But that's probably the downfall with AEW right now. Like, who is that presence that can, hold the court, as they say. Like for years it was Undertaker. He was the head of reason. I mean, I think Jericho's kind of too divisive too, isn't he? To be that.
Yeah. Are you looking at doing what did the Undertaker do? The wrestlers court?
Yeah, something like that, or at least.
So,
I mean, like I said, it probably needs to be Jericho in a way because Jericho has a relationship with Punk, has a relationship with the Young Bucks. I would think so. Because Moxley's probably I'm just going to go out in the ring and do my thing, and then go
yeah.
home to my beautiful wife and baby, and and drink a beer and call it a day or whatever. Bringing them on the road with me type. So, yeah, the Band-Aid is stuck right now, as they say. But what do you do with most Band-Aids, Greg? You just rip them off, and that's
True.
that's what I think you got to do. So, yeah. It should be interesting to see if we have any news on that in next week to talk up. So we don't have, I believe we don't have anything really premium event wise until Extreme Rules in October. So we do have AEW's Grand Slam, so those are kind of bigger events that they like to do. I thought one of those wasn't that Brody Lee winning the TNT title, I believe back in the day. I thought
Yeah, I believe
was
so.
close to that. So. Weird to think we're coming up on what the third year anniversary of Dynamite. I think
Yeah, I think October
October.
was when
So
that
we'll see
first
if they
episode went down. Yeah.
do anything to celebrate that. But NXT kind of getting the small reset here and there with what they've been doing. So yeah. Any last words for the good of the cause, Greg?
Well, shout out to my Chargers for getting the win. Um, Surprisingly, watched the Vikings take the Packers behind the woodshed, so
Oh,
that was unexpected. Um, but looking forward to some more great matches. We have some stuff to look forward to with the solo insertion into the bloodline with Johnny Gargano's first match coming up tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing that um, and what they're going to do with him. And a lot of interesting, storylines yet to unfold, especially with the Elite and all the fallout with that. Um, so lots of good stuff on the horizon. And after three premium live events last weekend, it's nice to have a week to take a break and
okay.
let's enjoy football and get ready for the next thing that rolls out. So great work by everybody. Um, and we've already mentioned like the Swerve and the Acclaimed and Sheamus and Gunther, uh, everybody who's holding it down, throwing down these banger matches. Keep doing what you're doing.
All right. Well, enjoy it. Enjoy the week, and we will talk to you guys next weekend and get it all popping again. So thanks for watching another episode of Superkickin with Steven. And we'll be back right here live at 6 p.m. for all your viewing pleasure.